Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all. But what do you do when you've caught them all? Sure, you can become a Pokemon master by honing your battle skills, or do what most people do and play literally any other video game. I, however, have taken a different approach. I have dedicated my life to finding and documenting some of the rarest Pokemon to ever exist. My name is Professor Rex, and today I will be counting down 10 of the craziest shiny hunts across Paldea. With outbreaks, raids, sandwiches, and more random encounters than you can shake a leak at, Scarlet and Violet are full of rare Pokemon. So let's dive in. Number 10. Starting the list off strong is the ancient paradox Pokemon Roaring Moon. As a version exclusive to Pokemon Scarlet, it is one of the last species players unlock, and without being able to breed for it, it shouldn't be a surprise to see the blood-soaked crescent on this list. For Violet players who are thinking that Iron Valiant will make an appearance later in this video, I have some bad news. You see, a fancy level 3 fairy encounter power sandwich will force Iron Valiant to spawn all throughout the underground of Area 0 with a 100% encounter rate. On the other hand, Roaring Moon shares its Dragon Dark typing with Zweilous, and even with the best possible sandwiches, you'll be stuck hunting Roaring Moon in the hidden cave surrounded by a whole bunch of Pokemon that probably aren't your targets. Without being able to guarantee spawns and a spawn location locked behind the post game, Roaring Moon is not only one of the coolest looking shiny Pokemon in Paldea, but one of the rarest too. If you happen to have one of these shinies, be sure to let me know in the comments section, because I'll be jealous. Number 9. Tatsugiri. Wait. Before you write me off, hear me out. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet have a feature called Mass Outbreaks that can help shiny hunters quickly grab differently colored Pokemon. Unfortunately for Tatsugiri, differently colored forms are already kind of its thing. With a curly, droopy, and stretchy form, the shiny forms of Tatsugiri are already kinda confusing, but why does having multiple forms make Tatsugiri a rare shiny Pokemon? Well, it only makes 2 of the forms rare. Whenever you go to a Tatsugiri outbreak in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, you'll find the curly form, regardless of what form is showing on the minimap. This is because Game Freak made an oopsie, and as of 1.0.1, outbreaks seem to always spawn the default form for a given species of a Pokemon. So players who want to track down a shiny droopy or stretchy Tatsugiri will need to breed for them, or find them in the wild. We are at a red Tatsugiri outbreak, and it certainly seems like these are not red Tatsugiri. Those look orange as heck to me. Locking in colors other than orange Tatsugiri as something that's probably going to be rarer than most of the Pokemon you can get from outbreaks. A dragon encounter sandwich should help with these, but the Pokemon are small and still probably best hunted with the Let's Go method. This is also a good time to highlight something I often think about when theory crafting rare hunts. Since Masuda method is present in Paldea, most Pokemon can be shiny hunted fairly easily through eggs. So when talking about rare wild spawns, we can affirm their rarity with Master Balls or Wild Catch exclusive marks, since those can't be passed down through breeding and will always indicate a Pokemon was found in the wild. So you could breed for a shiny stretchy Tatsugiri, but a Master Ball or mark would prove that you caught it in the wild, making it one of the rarest in Paldea. I'm also going to jump in here and use a bit of a cop-out. Tatsugiri isn't the only Pokemon that falls prey to the default form outbreak problem. So our number 9 slot is also going to include the Flabebe line for non-red flowers and Blue Basculin. They're still small, subtle shinies and definitely not hunts for the faint of heart. And I've been to the outbreaks for them. The map will deceive you almost every time. I am currently standing on top of a yellow Floette outbreak. You can see that it's still that yellow Floette. And the outbreak is full of red Floettes. So it looks like you can only shiny hunt for red Floette using the outbreak method. Number 8. Oinkologne. Wait, no. Zorua, Zoroark, and Ditto? Finding these shiny Pokemon in the wild has been pretty much handcrafted to be an interesting hunt. Unlike nearly every other Pokemon in the game, which just kinda
show up and are shiny, these tricksters disguise themselves as other Pokemon in the overworld. Running around just won't cut it when you're shiny hunting for them, because even the shiny ones will look normal when they're disguised. Luckily, your Pokemon won't knock them out in Let's Go mode if they do end up being shiny, so you don't need to encounter every Zorua, Zoroark, or Ditto in order to shiny check them. Players can hold ZL to check wild Pokemon's names, which will give away the Pokemon's true identity if they're disguised. If you have keen observation skills, you can keep an eye out for Pokemon that run away when they shouldn't, or are out of place. Zorua will try to escape, while Ditto will gladly just do its own thing and ignore you. But hey, at least you could boost your odds with outbreaks, right? Well, the Zorua and Ditto outbreaks I've been able to track down so far have been completely empty and broken. So this hunt will likely be best off with some sandwiches, patience, and good luck. I've found a normal Sammy near the Porta Morinda works well for Ditto, and dark sandwiches in pretty well any Zorua or Zoroark region will have a decent MPH. Without the help of outbreaks and no visual shiny indicators in the overworld, Zorua, Zoroark, and Ditto are certainly going to be some of the rarest shiny Pokemon you can find in Paldea. If you get super crazy lucky in a raid, you could avoid the hassle of looking at disguised Pokemon. But honestly, if you want one anytime soon, your best bet will be to keep your eyes on the disguise. Also, before we move on, my good friend Jacob Robert showed me a cool thing to keep in mind if you do ever find one of these interesting shinies. If you save in front of one and then reload the game, they'll disguise themselves as their own species. Just make sure to save before you encounter them. If you decide to leave the battle, they will be gone forever. Number 7. Spiritomb. Spiritomb is just one of those Pokemon that Game Freak likes to make us work hard for. Scarlet and Violet make no exception to this long-standing tradition. There are just 3 places that Spiritomb will spawn as a fixed encounter in Paldea. Knocking them out and then allowing your clock to tick over to the next day will allow them to respawn with new stats and PIDs. With that done, Spiritomb is just about as rare as any other stationary reset. French shiny hunter Cobalt Pokemon has already tracked one of these beautiful shiny Pokemon down, and I will link his tweet where he explained the hunt to me in the description. With all of the shiny legendaries locked away because the devs hate us, it's cool that there are still some interesting reset hunts that can be done with a little bit of ingenuity. Number 6. Slakoth. Unlike the other Pokemon on the list so far, Slakoth apparently can appear in outbreaks, though I've never been lucky enough to find one. So if you're anything like me and you can't for the life of you find a Slakoth outbreak, you're in for a treat. Slakoth can only spawn extremely rarely in the branches of trees or at the bottom of them. And forget using sandwiches, as they don't seem to increase the chance of a tree spawning a Pokemon. I have over 100 hours of playtime in these games, and I've only managed to see a single Pokemon spawn in a tree's branches. Unless you get insanely lucky with a tree spawn, or find a 1 in 4,103 shiny Slakoth in a 2-star raid, this hunt will include a lot of date skipping, trying to find the right outbreak. So, more of an outbreak hunt than a shiny hunt. Though apparently saving in the same area as the outbreak you're trying to find might help, but more research on that is needed. I don't think I plan on hunting the Sloth anytime soon. But if you set your eyes on this hunt, good luck. Let me know how it goes. If it sounds feasible, maybe I'll try it out as a hunt during Arbor Week. Number 5. Blaze and Aqua breed Tauros. These Pokemon have a few things going for them that is going to make them difficult to hunt. First off, let's take a look at the shiny difference. Game Freak really hasn't given shiny hunters a helping hand on this one. Also, the alternative forms of Tauros are version exclusive and have the same problem as the other Pokemon with multiple forms. Even if you find a Blaze or Aqua breed outbreak, all you'll find there are regular Paldean Tauros. Whipping out some sandwiches should help, but for every Blaze or Aqua breed Tauros that spawns, you'll get a herd of regular Paldean Tauros. This hunt is going to strain your eyes and your patience, since you're likely going to come across a few unwanted and underwhelming shinies in the process. Number 4. Wild Terra Pokemon. We're in the final 4 now, but because I can't count too good, number 4 isn't a single Pokemon. Instead, our number 4 slot goes to Wild Tera Pokemon. Terastallization is the fancy new gimmick we got with Generation 9, and one of the features the trailer showed us a lot of are these Wild Tera Pokemon. These wild Pokemon come with unique movesets including TMable moves and egg moves. They even have that cool little sparkle effect I keep seeing everyone on Twitter saying this game should have had, so I think they're pretty cool. Plus, they can be shiny. But what makes them special? The Mirror Herb has made egg moves easy to get on non-bred Pokemon, and any schmuck off the street can teach their Pokemon TMs. But if we catch them in Master Balls or with catch-only marks, there are a few of these Tera Pokemon that get movesets they wouldn't be able to have otherwise. In Scarlet and Violet, there isn't any way to have a Pokemon learn a move early, so the Tera Pokemon that have moves before they're supposed to are something special. Though, my personal favorite Tera Pokemon has to be the underleveled level 30 Sliggoo, which you can usually only evolve at level 40. If you want to take on this hunt, you'll have to buckle down and get some resets going. The best option seems to be saving where a Tera Pokemon should spawn and waiting a day. When you reset, they should just pop up underneath you. If you're lucky enough, you should be able to find a shiny one. Before we delve into the final 3 rarest Pokemon on our list, I felt obliged to give an honorable mention. Apparently, no top 10 list is complete without mentioning Vespiquen and or Salazzle. So to satisfy those who needed to hear it, yes, they are rare. Q-Charm doesn't work in this game, so you'll need to phase a few times on the pre-evolutions or get lucky enough to find them fully evolved as a static spawn or an outbreaks. Or I guess you could raid them, which leads us really well into number 3, Tera raid Pokemon. You heard it here first. Getting a full odds 1 in 4,103 shiny from a raid is freaking rare. Tera raid bosses don't care about your shiny boo sandwiches, they don't care about your shiny charm, and they certainly do not care about your feelings. Tera raid Pokemon have some very cool shiny hunts available. Pokemon with moves they've learned too early, Pokemon that have evolved early, and Pokemon that are lower level than you can find anywhere else in the game. Some of my personal favorites include level 45 Bisharp, which shouldn't evolve from Pawniard until level 52, and the Violet exclusive raid Dracolac, which is both underleveled and knows the move Dragon Rush 16 levels early. There are too many interesting Tera raid Pokemon for me to list all of them, but just know that if you've come across a shiny Tera raid boss, you've found one of the rarest Pokemon across Paldea. If you happen to have an extra Master Ball on hand, maybe give it a throw. Then you'll always know it wasn't just some elaborate egg hatch. Number 2, Maushold and Dudunsparce. Yeah, I hear your groans, I'm cheating again, number 2 is 2 Pokemon, or 4 Pokemon, depending on how you count. Deal with it. By now I'm sure everyone has heard about the absolute nightmare of a shiny hunt that Scarlet and Violet have set players up for with these 1 in 100 evolutions. Every individual Pokemon from Generation 6 onward has something called an encryption constant. When Tandemaus and Dunsparce evolve, their unique 32-bit encryption constant is modded by 100. If the result is 0, then they will evolve into the rare variant. Otherwise, they're doomed to a life of normalcy. In other words, if the EC of a Pokemon is evenly divisible by 100, they will evolve into the rare form. This means players can't just reset over and over again, hoping to get the rare evolution, since the EC of a Pokemon won't change after it's been generated. Luckily, there are a few glimmers of hope. All 4-star Maushold raids will be the rare 3 family variant, so I suppose players could get crazy lucky on that. Though for Dudunsparce, the opposite is true, where the only Dudunsparce raids you'll ever find are the less interesting 2-segment versions. In reality, shiny hunters had better be ready to phase. A lot. With a normal type encounter sandwich, Tandemaus is quite common at the Pokemon League, but definitely not easy to see since the shiny form is so excruciatingly subtle. Dunsparce, on the other hand, can be forced up to a nearly 100% encounter rate in the chambers of Area 0 and is pretty easy to see. The only other Pokemon you'll have to worry about with a normal sandwich active is Dudunsparce, which unfortunately will always be the 2-segment form in the wild. My friend Bennett Plays Pokemon has already gotten a shiny 3-segment Dudunsparce after just 27 phases, so it's definitely possible. Keep your eyes out for any Tandemaus, Maushold, or Dunsparce that pop up in the wild or in raids. You never know, you might get lucky enough to find one of the rarest Pokemon in Paldea. Though, even with fancy sandwiches and the shiny charm active, finding one in the wild that evolves into their rare form is still a 1 in 68,308 chance. So I wouldn't get my hopes up too high. Number 1. Authentic Sinistea. Yeah, we're finishing off the list with a callback to Pokemon Sword and Shield. Authentic Sinistea is one of those hunts where it either terrifies you to think of, or gets you far more excited than any Pokemon reasonably should. When I first started looking into Authentic Sinistea as a shiny hunt for Scarlet and Violet, I was excited. My Pokeballs were ready to dive in head first. Though the longer I looked, the more terrified I became. I mean, with outbreaks, how hard could it be to find a shiny Authentic Sinistea? Apparently, harder than I could have imagined. I went through 2 boxes worth of outbreak spawns and saw none. Every single teacup was a cheap Chinese knockoff. Okay, maybe they're like other outbreaks and only spawn the default form. Perhaps raids would offer some solace? 2-star Sinistea, phony. 4-star Poltergeist, phony. 5-star Poltergeist, yet another phony. So with outbreaks either impossible or infeasible, and raids out of the picture, I looked towards the last glimmer of hope in this authenticless world. I created a union room and made the 4 of us a level 3 ghost encounter boost sandwich. We must have checked hundreds of teacups without a single stamp seen. Then, just as I was fully losing it, our sandwiches wore off and I found one.
Who am I going to talk to? I'm going to tell Game Freak I'm mad that they pissed in my tea? They don't give a shit. Game Freak is you I found one. Okay. After literally 2 hours of searching, I have found an Authentic Sinistea. I found this Sinistea after finding 2 different shiny Pokemon. And I went through an hour of level 3 boosted sandwiches. My boost is now not active, and I've now found this Authentic Sinistea. I don't know what to say.
Minutes later, Lol Lemons found another. And this is when I discovered Game Freak really wanted us to suffer. When you look in the Pokedex, you can see that phony Sinistea can spawn in places that will never spawn Authentic Sinistea. While phony Sinistea can spawn in ruins and the desert, Authentic Sinistea is limited to this area around Alfornada. I don't know what to tell you. Game Freak hates us. And I swear, boosted spawns just won't give authentic cups. I did it again. 30 minutes of sandwich bonus. All fake. No sandwich bonus? Authentic found in just a few checks. Look at all these Tandemaus. Look at all these Dunsparce. 100 phases is a lot, but at least you get to see them. Maybe with a Sparkling Power 3 sandwich, you could at least boost your chance of finding a shiny Authentic Sinistea without turning off their spawns altogether. But taking on this hunt for nothing more than a little stamp has to make it one of the single craziest shiny hunts anywhere in Paldea. Perhaps I should throw away my last semblance of sanity and give it a go over on Twitch at twitch.tv/Professor's Lab. If you think I should try one of the other hunts on the list, let me know in the comments section. I want to thank you all for attending my shiny Pokemon TED Talk. If you liked this rant, check out the video I posted recently where I dive into 10 of the rarest Pokemon in my collection. Or Oliver MKP's video covering 5 unique hunts in Scarlet and Violet. I promise, they're good videos. And I'll back that with the Professor Rex money back guarantee. Oh yeah, before you click those links though, be sure to catch that subscribe button and hit like. YouTube's algorithm is a black box that nobody understands, but apparently clicking those things does help. And if you're still here, think back. Did I miss something? Did I get something wrong? Did you learn something new? Leave a comment answering one of those questions now, or I'm going to curse you with 7 years bad shiny luck. If you do leave a comment though, let's be friends. Because at the end of the day, the rarest Pokemon are the friends we made along the way.